Morning. Woke up about 6 a.m. this morning. It's super humid outside right now, so all my tent and bike has a bunch of kind of dew on it right now. So just waiting for the sun to come out and help dry my camping gear a little bit. Nothing special today for breakfast, but chapagetti is like black bean noodles. It's pretty good. It's kind of like a soybean, like sweeter flavor, but should be good for breakfast. It was now my 5th day biking along the DMZ between the South and North Korean border. And in today's journey, I decided to backtrack a bit to the famous tourist spot called Imjingak, which is home to the main access point into the DMZ. Then I would cycle course 5 and most of course 6 of the Pyeonghwa Nuri Bike Path before taking a detour, as I had another campsite in mind in a small city called Jeongok up ahead. Alright, now we get to start out today with a downhill, because we hiked up here yesterday. Just got about 6 kilometers until Imjingak. Yeah, let's see what we find on the way there, and I'm excited to see Imjingak. I was back in the farmland between where I stayed at Changsan Mountain and the tourist spot in Imjingak. And these farms are about as close as South Korean civilians can get to North Korea, but they're incredibly peaceful and serene. And as I got closer to Imjingak, I suddenly saw some tour buses, as this is part of the DMZ tours that start in Seoul, so I knew the atmosphere would be changing quite fast. It's like a Viking theme park over there. Tons of tour buses. When I arrived at Imjingak, the first thing I noticed was a gondola that crosses the Imjingang River, but my wife Yujin has never been here, so I want to ride the gondola with her later on when we return together. For this trip, I decided to see what I could check out in the vicinity without spending too much money. I passed by a VR tour that'd be good for families, and I wanted to catch the view on top of the building, which you can get a pretty good view of the Imjingang Railway Bridge from atop, which I decided to check out in more detail. And on the way there, I saw the Peace Bell, which was built on January 1st, 2000, in hopes that the South and North would reunite in the 21st century, as they split apart in the 20th. I walked further along, and ended up at the Bridge of Freedom, in which over 12,000 South Korean and UN prisoners of war held captive in North Korea returned to the South after the Korean War. And right beside it, a steam locomotive, which was the last train that crossed between the South and the North, used to deliver supplies to the UN forces, and it was destroyed by American forces with the risk that it would fall into North Korean hands. It was recovered from the DMZ after the war, and now it lies here today with 1,020 bullet holes all over its chassis, and it certainly reminds you of how horrifying a time the war was. And last but not least, the railroad bridge it crossed into North Korea on, which was bombed during the Korean War, and the pillars that remain are still there. And beside it, the Imjingang Railway Bridge, which is built afterwards, that the DMZ peace train travels across for tourists. And maybe someday to continue up to North Korea if the two countries unify or come to some sort of a peace treaty someday. Visiting Imjingak made me reflect on where I live in South Korea, and just realize how lucky I am to be able to live a peaceful life here filled with happiness and adventure. And it's honestly the land where I feel like I found myself, which is where our channel name comes from, Lost Then Found. It was time to continue north and see what else I'd find along the Pyeonghwa Nuri Bike Path. Fair amount of hills for the end of course 4 so far. There is a rating of all of these courses. If you look at the map, it's all in Korean of course, but you can translate it with Papago or something. But I think this is probably maybe a medium challenging one. Maybe I'm just tired today. Who knows? Still haven't seen a single biker today. I'm wondering how many people bike this route, but it doesn't seem to be too many because the weather is perfect and there's nobody. One thing Korea does really well is putting these rest stops in the middle of the bike paths with shade and everything. There's seriously every single bike path in Korea. It doesn't matter where you are, there will be a pagoda like that, so it's very nice. Okay, it's about 12:30 now. I'm just coming up to a place with some restaurants and stuff like that. I might just go to a convenience store though. Depends on what they have. It looks like a lot of seafood restaurants, which is mostly for more than one person as well. Yeah, it's looking 7-Eleven might be my best bet. Convenience store bibimbap. Looks pretty good actually. It was a lot better than I was expecting actually, so I'd recommend the 7-Eleven bibimbaps for sure. A little bit more energy now. Today is definitely a little bit of a struggle, but that's how the second day usually works of a cycle tour. So we got a little bit over 40 kilometers left until we reach a free campsite I found online. Hoping it works out. It's a Friday night, so it could be really busy, but definitely hoping for the best. I noticed that there were a fair bit of hills in course 5, and most of the path was shared road with the cars. These are really cool. They're called yaksuto, which is like a water station or whatever. And this is fresh drinking water that anyone can come and drink from. And that's how a lot of Koreans, even Yujin, my wife, was saying she got water like this back in the day in Seoul, so. Hey guys. A lot of people might be wondering about the dog situation in Korea. I've heard in a lot of countries, like especially in Thailand, there's a lot of wild dogs, right? And sometimes they chase you. But in Korea, I've never been chased by a dog. They're normally on the leash, luckily. I've heard it does happen from time to time, but it's usually all right, for sure. I found the master sword tucked away in the woods. If I could sum up course 5 in one word, it would be farmland. And to be completely honest, it wasn't the most beautiful section of the ride or anything. There were definitely little things to look at here and there, but it's mostly a countryside road. And for some sections you're cycling on completely unmaintained farm roads, where you're basically alone. I don't see people. No cyclists either. It's a very strange feeling for sure, but I'm sure that'll change up ahead. Looks like I'm going way up there. Goodbye, no man's land. And hello, highway probably. Bike path goes way up here. This path wants me to exercise today. Whew. I started to learn that there are sections of the path that are almost like mountain bike trails, which would be very fun with a lighter bike with thicker tires. I had to be a bit careful with my skinny tires, but it ended up being fine, and I was now just before the start of course number 6. Getting a bit tired, but I had the entire path to myself, to just relax and keep going on at a slow pace. Alright, just lied down for 10 minutes, being really slow today. Done about 35 kilometers and I got 34 kilometers to go. It's 3 o'clock, hoping I can finish before it gets dark. At least I know that the place I'm going to is free camping and it's kind of an official place, so even if I get there a bit late, it's okay. So this is the end of course number 4, I believe. Oh no, it isn't. End of course 5. So we're starting course number 6. I'm on the second to last course now, which is one more than I realized, but it makes me feel like I'm getting closer. A nice little psychological skip ahead. And of course, we're back in the farmland here. A little rough road. I don't know what's up with all these big grass fields. In Korea, you don't get like really large fields of grass like this normally, so I wonder if they're growing it to sell it, or I'm really not too sure. Maybe it's going to be a cattle farm, but it's absolutely massive. And that was the start of course 6. Fields, and then even more fields. It reminded me a bit of the cross-country bike path from Incheon to Busan as you approach Busan, and I was still the only cyclist on the path. It felt great to get back into a little village just over 10 kilometers into course 6. I feel like I've come so far in these last 2 days. Like, I don't know, I'm not that far from Seoul, but it's really countryside over here. Similar to the Bukhangang in terms of distance away from Seoul, but when you ride the Bukhangang, there's cyclists everywhere and like tons of people enjoying it, you know? This one's definitely not as scenic as the Bukhangang bike path, but it has a big impact, especially to tourists that just want to kind of feel the border between South and North Korea. So I guess there's a tomb down here. It's right next to the bike path. So this tomb lies with the foundation of Baekje, which is like back in the day, there used to be 3 kingdoms in Korea. There was the Baekje, Goguryeo, and Silla dynasties. This tomb has been around since then, so I'm not sure who they buried here. It doesn't say, but that's cool that they left it intact for sure. And right here, got a nice little view. Okay, 4:35 right now. I've gone about 54 kilometers or so, and there is 17 kilometers until the campsite. So hoping to finish this 17 kilometers in one go. There are 2 pretty big hills in between now and then, so we'll see how I handle this. Luckily I had a big lunch with that bibimbap though. Since I was at Imjingak too, I haven't really noticed much of like a DMZ presence. I guess those speakers kind of look like it, but that's just, those are in every single countryside town. They just kind of warn people for floods or all that kind of stuff, you know? Maybe like super hot weather or whatever, because a lot of the elderly don't know how to use their smartphones for that. But oh boy, I don't know if you can see that hill there, but it looks very steep. This will be fun. Fighting! Both of the hills were steep at about a 13% grade, with the first one being about 1.3 kilometers long, and the second one being about 800 meters long. Made it to the top of the last hard hill of the day. There'll be little ones here and there, but nothing as much as this, so there we go. I was now heading off the bike path into a city called Jeongok, and it was a highway to get there, but I got spoiled with an amazing bridge with really nice views as well. I don't know if you can see up ahead, but I think I can see into Jeongok, which is where I'm going. That highway riding wasn't too bad actually. The bridge is really cool and I saw some cool views too. The cars weren't going too fast luckily. I'm just gonna stop at a Hanromatte and get some groceries, and let's hope and pray that this camping place works out. I stocked up on groceries essential to my survival, and I rode down to the campground in Jeongok, which is a really peaceful city by the way, that I would have completely missed out on if I stayed on the bike path. I ended up at an amazing park with pretty much all the facilities you can think of, and I saw the tents, so I knew that I was just about finished my ride. 안녕하세요. 네, 혹시 여기 그 무료 캠핑장 있어요?
무료 캠핑장이요?
네.
여기 주변에는 없어요.
아,
주변에는 없어요.
없어요?
네, 다 유료예요.
아,
네.
여기 그 저 작은 텐트만 있는데 얼마예요?
25,000원이요.
25,000원?
네. 근데 오늘 풀이에요, 풀.
아, 진짜요?
네, 풀.
아, 네, 알겠습니다. 네, 안녕히 계세요. Alright, that didn't work out too well. I thought you could camp here for free, and I guess not. So I'm gonna check the hotel prices and might try going to another park as well. Alright, I think I'm gonna give up and just get a motel for tonight. There is a park like 8 kilometers ahead, but I don't know if I'll be able to camp there. It's already like starting to get dark now. I don't want to arrive at nighttime and be out of a spot, so I'm really tired from today. I ended up finding a cheap motel in Yeongok-eub for 35,000 won, which is actually not that much more expensive than the campground would have been if there were spots. And it would give me a nice spot to relax before my last day on the Pyeonghwa Nuri Bike Path.
어서 오세요.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 아우, 우리만 잘하시네.
아, 감사합니다.
어떻게? 짐이 무거우니까 문 열어주시라고.
안 하셔도 되는데. 네. 네. 네, 감사합니다. 즐거운 저녁 되세요.
네.
People here are super friendly. It's a nice little room for sure. Felt a little guilty about having to get the motel, but today was just a really long day with lots of hills, and it was just getting too dark, too late in the day for me to keep going ahead. My legs were killing me, but definitely happy I made the decision. I got some pizza school combination pizza for 14,000 won because I can't cook the meat that I bought, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to keep it kind of cool tomorrow while I'm riding. And finish it off with a cheers. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.